Good evening and good morning to Fiona in New Zealand. Hi, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, I am Fiona. I am originally from the UK, from London, but I now live in Auckland in New Zealand, where I would say the sun is shining because it's springtime, but it's not. It's absolutely hissing it down. It's a bit of a monsoon today. I write a cosy mystery series for HarperCollins, which is set in Cornwall, bizarrely. Being a Cockney who now lives in New Zealand, where else was I going to set my books? Yeah, I like to have a good laugh, which is why I'm doing this. And I now appear to have something in my eye. So if you just carry on talking,
Oh, have I made you cry already?
I know, I'm sorry, you're so mean to me, Donna.
This is nothing.
Oh God, oh, I'm scared now. Right, I'm okay. I think I've got hay fever actually, because like I said, it is springtime, and despite the fact that it's pouring with rain, the pollen count is really high this morning, so I might sneeze a few times. But
that's fine. We'll work around that. That's fine.
Work around it. If I'm sobbing, you haven't upset me. If you've upset me, and there'll be rude hand gestures, so you'll know, so it's fine.
Fair enough. I'll try not to.
Yeah. Oh, excuse me.
Right. So, did you always know that you wanted to write?
I always did write. I always used to write short stories and things when I was a child, but I don't think I ever really looked at it as a career option, because you know, if you're growing up in South London, you people like me don't become novelists, do you? You know, you end up working in a shop or something. So I had my sights set on a far more realistic and achievable career, in that I wanted to be an actor. So you know, bizarrely, but no one would ever cast me. I went and did drama at university, and I realised then that it wasn't really for me. Not the life of being a glamorous leading lady, because obviously, you know, Hollywood would want this face. So I thought, you know, no one's going to cast me. I might actually try just writing my own stuff, and I can't write anything serious, so comedy. So I actually started writing. I started off writing like stand-up material. I really wanted to do stand-up comedy. So I wrote all this material, and there was the BBC New Comedy Awards. And I said, you just had to send them a tape of your material. So I sent them this tape on the Monday. And on the Wednesday, they rang me up and said, oh, we've got your gig on Friday. And I thought, oh, okay, yeah, that's fine. And so I went along to this gig, and it had... the headliner was Al Murray, the pub landlord, and it was massive, and it was the first time I'd ever done a gig. And you know what, I would rather have a hysterectomy than ever do stand up again, because it was so scary. It was terrifying. So after that, I started writing sitcom pilots and things, and that kind of I had quite a few meetings with production companies, and quite big ones, but it just didn't get any further. And then I started writing screenplays, and it was all more to do with having stuff on the screen. That was always more my focus rather than books. And it was only when I'd started getting some interest in my screenplays, but again, it never got anywhere. And there was this particular screenplay, Dead in Venice, that I loved. And my friend and fellow writer, Carmen Radke, bullied me into writing it as a novel, because she just said it would work really well as a book. So I'd never actually wanted to write a novel because there's too many words, and it's just a bit scary. I sat down and wrote that using the script as an outline, and that was it. I was just absolutely hooked then on writing prose and writing novels, and that was it. So that was when I decided, at the age of 48, I think, 47, 48, that I was going to be a novelist. So that was it. A late bloomer, shall we say.
A lot of people that I speak to seem, you know, some people don't start writing to their 60s, so you're quite young in comparison. It's fine.
I'm very youthful. or immature. I'm not sure which one it is.
I find immature is boring.
No, exactly. He wants to be
Not that I've
grown
ever
up.
tried it. I've never tried being mature.
I wouldn't recommend it, honestly. It is like seriously overrated. Don't do it.
I don't think I could. Literally don't think I'm capable. I'll do it.
No, you don't want to do that.
No, I'm not going to try it anyway unless I absolutely have to, I suppose, but I don't plan to. Even at work, they leave me in charge, the fools, and I'm not mature then either.
Well, you got to have fun, haven't you? Really.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You're getting sidetracked. Books. We're here for books.
Books, yes.
Books, yes. Author, you.
Oh yes. That's enough about you. Let's talk about me.
Yeah. This is not about me at all. Sneaky buggers keep turning it back on me, and I'm done.
Well, see how you like it.
I had a Q&A in my Facebook group the other day. It was fine. So they did ask me some questions. I was expecting that.
No, that's it. Well, we all love you. We're not going to make you feel awkward. Be kind to me.
How many books have you written so far?
Right, so far I have got I've written 3 that I've self-published. So that's Dead in Venice and the follow-up Murder Ahoy, and then another standalone called Falling in Louvre, which came out in July. And then I've written 4 so far for HarperCollins, 3 of which are already out, and the 4th one is out at the end of November. It's my attempt at a Christmas book, but of course it's me, so it's got murder in it, because nothing says festive spirit like a gruesome death, does it really? And then I've got 2 more to go at the moment for HarperCollins in the same series. So how many does that make? 7 so far, and 2 more to come.
Yeah.
And one that I haven't published yet, but we're getting there, working on it.
And how did the deal with HarperCollins come about? That's pretty cool.
Well, I have a fantastic agent, Lena Langley, and she took me on because of Dead in Venice. She absolutely loved it, and I was talking to her actually the other day, and she was still saying then how much she loved that book. And but it was quite a difficult one to get published because it's kind of a rom-com, but it's also quite a gruesome murder. So it's like a serial killer romance kind of thing, which is not your usual, which I hadn't thought of when I wrote it, but there you go. So it kind of ended up, I mean, Audible published it, but then I couldn't get another like print publisher to take it on. But so it ended up really being more like a kind of a writing sample that we sort of showed around to people, and lots of people loved it, but they didn't take it on because they didn't know what it was. But HarperCollins, they were looking for someone who could write a kind of a funny crime series, like a kind of a cozy mystery series. And although Dead in Venice wasn't exactly cozy because of the level of gore, and there's a hell of a lot of swearing in it as well, which is not allowed really. I think they saw that I could potentially write something like that. And also as well, I'd written the sequel to it, and I'd written this other book, Falling in Louvre, which was just sort of sitting on my laptop waiting for something to happen with it. So they knew I could write quickly, which was what they wanted, someone that can write a series and write it quickly, because cozy mystery readers tend to kind of be, when they discover a new series, they're quite sort of voracious. They'll read the first one, then go out and buy all the others, hopefully. That's the plan. So we had a discussion. I had a Zoom meeting with one of the editors there, and she told me the sort of thing they were looking for, and we basically just brainstormed in this meeting something that I could write for them. So I then went off and wrote an outline for book 1, the first couple of chapters, and then I gave them a load of terrible punny kind of titles for other books in the series potentially, and they loved it, and they hired me to write them. So that was cool. I mean, it wasn't anything that I'd intended to write really, but it was. And then they say about people writing to the market and that sort of thing. It kind of is a case of that. They said these are the things that are really popular. But having said that, I absolutely love the series. I love the characters in it. So it's not just a purely cynical ploy to sell books. It's just like quite a good starting off point, you know. And it's nice to write something that people might actually read. So that's good. But yeah, it all started off from the first book really being kind of used as a writing sample. So
if you were to be picked up and placed in one of your books, which book would you choose?
I actually think it would be that first one again, Dead in Venice, because the main character in that, Bella, she's in her late 40s. She's from South London. She's a crime writer, although a very successful crime writer, more so than I am. She swears a lot. She loves Italian food and sex, and she goes to Venice, which is my favorite place in the entire world. So yeah, I think it might have to be there. It might have to be that book. Definitely.
Do you hide secret jokes or messages or Easter eggs in your books?
Yeah, kind of. I'm trying to think of one. I know I have done it, but there'll be references to things I think that people of like kind of my generation will get, maybe not everyone else will, but they're not so ridiculous that someone else reading it will go, what the hell's that all about? So it's probably more, rather than kind of Easter eggs, it will be references to things that, like maybe TV shows that I used to watch growing up. Or I've done things like in Falling in Louvre, the two main characters in that are real bookworms, and their favorite book is The Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafón, or however you say it, and that's my favorite book. So they'll talk about stuff like that that's actually my favorite, you know, and that kind of thing. But I mean, not, yeah, I suppose that's kind of an Easter egg. If you know me, then you'll know that it's something that I really love. So yeah,
great book as well. I love Shadow of the Wind.
It's fantastic. The whole series is just amazing. So yeah,
yeah,
I would love to write like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a shame he died.
Yes, yeah, it's tragic, but I mean, one of the things I would really love to do, because I still have these kind of dreams of seeing stuff that I've written up on screen, I would actually love to do the film adaptation of The Shadow of the Wind, because I just think it would look absolutely amazing on the big screen. It would be incredible. So, yeah, I'm putting that out there into the universe.
Yeah, if anyone's watching, then absolutely.
I would love to do that. It would be amazing.
Yeah, and what a cool book to see made into a film as well. It would just be beautiful, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would, absolutely.
Yeah. When you're editing, what's the most overused word or phrase that you have to edit out or get shouted at for overusing?
I think just is the one that I notice. I'm actually quite good now because I'm very aware of trying not to overuse words. But also I have to say as well, people do tend to have words that they use a lot. So I think as long as it's the same character saying that word, even if they say it a lot, it kind of doesn't matter because that's how people speak. I mean, if you were looking at my dialogue for a whole day, I'd probably say fuck too much. So you'd want to cut that out. But it's that's how I speak. So you know, it'd be stuff like that really. But I don't tend to get when I send my manuscripts in, they're really clean. There's like, I used to work as a proofreader and as a copywriter as well, so all of that makes you really aware of what you're doing when you're writing it. So, and I also do that thing that you're apparently not supposed to do. I edit as I go along. So when I start writing for the day, I'll actually go back and read what I wrote the day before and kind of sort of semi-edit it then. So I kind of pick up on stuff like that anyway. So by the time I send it off to my editor, there's not really a massive amount to change. I mean, most of it will be when it comes down to like the line edits, stuff like punctuation, where I'm honest, but I do not know the difference between an M dash, an N dash, and a hyphen. So I just think, do you know what? It's my job to actually write the story. Proofreader can sort out all these bloody dashes and put in what they like. So I go through and look at all the list of like the track changes, and nearly everyone is they've taken a space out and put a different dash in or something like that. That's the one thing that they always pick up on, is it will be some kind of punctuation thing that I've kind of done some random slightly eccentric punctuation and they change it.
Yeah, someone tried to explain to me what an M dash was, and I'm still none the wiser. I have no clue at all. I didn't know there was such a thing. I mean, seriously, they're all lines. What does it matter, really? I mean, I guess it does. But
a hyphen is when you're joining two words together. I know that, and then I don't know the difference between the M dash and the N dash. It's just like, it's a dash, okay?
It's a black line in the manuscript. Like, surely that's the...
like whatever. It's just being pedantic, I reckon.
But that's what they get paid for, so it's fine.
Yeah,
makes them, makes them feel needed, I guess.
Yes, definitely. Yes, absolutely. Work creation, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
I am never ever going to learn the difference between those dashes now, just to make sure that I keep my lovely copy editor and proofreader in work.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Exactly. Noble. See, selfless. That's all it is.
Selfless, definitely.
If you were to take one of your characters out for a meal, who would you take and what would you ask them?
Oh, I don't know. I like Jodie, who's the main character in my Cozy Mystery series. I think she'd be fun. I tell you, I would actually like to have a girls' night out with Jodie and Bella, because I think Bella would probably get a bit tipsy and end up dancing on the tables. Jodie would be the sensible one who'd make sure that, we actually all got home, but she'd still be a laugh. So that would be good. And I'd be somewhere in the middle, kind of maybe not quite dancing on the table with my knickers on my head, but close, so I think that would be fun. As to what I'd ask them, I don't know. That's actually really tricky. That's a mean question. I don't know. I might have to come back to that. Yeah. I don't know. I can't think of what I'd actually ask them. I think I would just be so busy having a good time with them. I could just see, we'd be in some Italian restaurant somewhere, definitely just hogging a lot of pasta. We wouldn't be the sort of women that go out and prod a salad. We'd be starter, main course, and a dessert each. None of this, let's get one dessert and share it. No, you want a dessert, you get one. I'm having mine.
It's sod
off, it's mine. Get your own. So yeah, so I think that possibly we'd be too busy eating, laughing, and just maybe eyeing up the men walking by, but not doing anything about it because we'd all be scared. rather than having time to have any kind of serious conversations, I think we'd just be too busy enjoying ourselves.
Well, it sounds like the type of night where you'd know everything about all of you by the end of it anyway, because, you know, especially when women are drunk, they just overshare everything, don't they? So you'd know from childhood onwards, you'd know everything. So
yeah, that's it. That's always amazed me. Like, men can be friends for years, and you say something like, "Oh, what happened? Oh, such and such." Oh, I don't know. We don't talk about that sort of thing. And I'm like, I've known someone for 5 minutes and I know all about their hysterectomy operation, and you know what happened when they were 15. I've only known them 5 minutes. We've already shared everything.
I know. I spoke to a guy the other day and he's like, "Oh, I haven't spoke to my friend for 2 years." I'm like, 2 years? Like, my God, if that was a woman, we'd have given up on them by then. We would have assumed that there's no longer a friendship. And it's like, yeah, it's fine. We'll just pick up where we left off. I'm like, oh, okay.
I've got a few friends that I can do that with, that for whatever reason, life kind of gets in the way and you don't talk to each other. But, you know, you sort of message each other, and you're already at that point where you know each other so well that you can just pick up, I think, where you left off. But no, 2 years is time.
I know, yeah, weird. Men are weird. They say we're difficult.
No.
What was your favourite first as an author?
Oh, I think actually the first one, it was really big. It was great because it was when Audible decided to publish Dead in Venice. It was part of this new crime writing contest thing that they've run, and I was one of the finalists. So we had 3 finalists, and they decided to publish all 3 of the finalists. I knew I hadn't won, but they decided they were going to announce it all and kind of launch the books at the Harrogate Crime Writing Festival. So they put me up in a really nice hotel, paid for my train fare up there. I also met a couple of friends of mine up there who Carmen Radke was one of them, and Jade Bakari, who I talked to a lot online, but I hadn't actually met her in the flesh at that point. They were both going to be there, so I met up with them. They were like my entourage for the day. I was a bit overwhelmed by everything. They dragged me around. They made me go and talk to Lee Childs and Mark Billingham, who was one of the judges as well. So it was all stuff like that, because I was just like, hey, yeah, my book's coming out. But they were like, no, Fiona's book's coming out. It's really good. So that was a memorable day then. So that, you know, the kind of the first announcement of my first book coming out, that was probably the biggest and best first for me. And it really was the first as well. So that was fantastic. That day in Harrogate has passed into the stuff of legend for for the 3 of us, and we will never forget it because it was so much fun. It was so good. So yeah, I think everything else, even though the deal with HarperCollins is bigger, it kind of paled in comparison, because I got it when I was over here. Well, I actually heard that I'd got the deal when we went into our very first lockdown over here. So it was really good timing, because it meant, great, I've got something to do over lockdown. I've got 3 books to sit in right now. So that was great. But it did just mean we couldn't really sort of go out and celebrate it or anything. So it kind of wasn't quite as it was exciting. That sounds like really ungrateful, but it just wasn't quite as wow in your face as the first one. So yeah, it was a good.
I get that.
Yeah.
So having met Lee Child and Mark Billingham, who I love to bits, he's just a nutcase, he's mad. Who would be your biggest author that you'd fangirl over now if you were to meet them?
Oh, let me think. Actually, one of my favourite writers is Alexander McCall Smith, who does the No. 1 Ladies Detective Agency. and he's just so sort of witty, and his books are so warm and lovely. That's kind of what I aspire to try to write like. I don't think I'm quite there yet though. So I think I'd probably fangirl a bit over him if I met him. If I could go back in time and meet Agatha Christie, I'd have a good fangirl over her as well. So those are, it's funny really, I mean, like Lee Childs, before Harrogate, when I actually met him, I didn't know that much about him, but we went into, there's like a pop-up bookshop outside the hotel at the festival, and there was basically like a whole wing of this bookshop that was just Lee Childs, and I was like, oh, it's quite a big deal then, isn't it? I mean, I hadn't read loads of crime novels or anything like that. It was just, I hadn't set out to write a crime novel. It was just how the story kind of ended up. So I'd done no research. I had no kind of book to compare it to, which is probably a good thing, because I probably would have realised I was doing it all wrong if I'd read something that he'd written. But yeah, so I was a bit overwhelmed, but I probably didn't fangirl quite as much as I would have done had I known what a big deal he is. And Mark Billingham, actually, he was lovely because he was one of the judges of the crime writing contest. So he'd read my book, which does still make me think, holy shit. But he was really nice, and he was, I mean, he's just
him, isn't he? Yeah, he just, there's no airs and graces with him at all, is there? He's just an absolute loon.
Yeah, so that was nice, that was good. And well, I think when someone's like that, you don't tend to fangirl over them, because it is just like, oh, it's just another bloke. You know, even though he's not, because he's done all these amazing books. But yeah, he just sort of puts you at your ease. So yeah, so it's actually quite lucky that he was so nice and that I didn't realise quite what a big deal Lee Childs is. Otherwise, I would have really made an absolute tit of myself. So I'm glad I didn't.
Because I mean, I went to Harrogate this year and I loved it, but I've read all Lee Childs' books. I think ish. I think there's a few that I haven't, the most recent ones, because arcs and stuff. But I read his biography that's been written. I was on the blog tour for it, and he loved my review. And then he followed me back on Twitter yesterday. So I was like, and Lee Childs followed me on Twitter. So yeah,
That's
I had a little bit of a
yeah, definitely. I can see that.
Yeah. So if I ever met him, I mean, I was rubbish at Harrogate. I don't think I'm particularly shy anymore, but when I went to Harrogate, all my confidence just, I wouldn't approach anyone. Rubbish.
No, I was exactly the same, totally the same. It was only because I had my entourage with me, who were much braver than I am. I mean, I wouldn't talk to anybody. I was just like, you know.
It's so weird, isn't it? Just. But then it's funny because there were two people that were with me that were worse than I was. So in the end, I was like, for God's sake, let's just go. So then I had to be brave because they were being wimps. So I'm like, for God's sake, I'll just, let's just go say hi. And they ended up interviewing Ian Rankin and Mark Billingham, I think. So yeah, so it worked out all right for them.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. That's the thing. I mean, speaking as a writer, if anyone wants to come and talk to you and say how great your books are and ask you about them, like, you're not going to tell them to bugger off. You're going to go, oh yes, great, sit down, let me tell you all about them. No, you can't leave. I haven't finished telling you about all my books.
Poor Mark Billingham didn't get left alone at all, that I noticed all weekend, except for when he snuck off to have a fag when he was standing by that's the only time I think where he was left alone.
He's quite expensive though, isn't he? Because I mean, when I was there, he had his hat on, and he's always got his hat on. So, and he's tall. So, if he's
lanky, it's a right lanky thing, isn't he?
He's trying to be inconspicuous. It's not working. He needs to try a bit harder. So, whereas I'm like middle-aged, dumpy, short woman, no one's going to notice me. I'm over 50. I'm now invisible, if officially invisible, you know, when you get to 50, so it's fine.
Not having that. Do you get a lot of feedback from readers?
I do. We put the HarperCollins books go on NetGalley, so obviously I see the reviews that are on NetGalley, and they're not always what I would hope they would be.
Yeah.
So there is a bit of feedback on there. In some respects, it's useful because I think a lot of the people that go on NetGalley they're not necessarily into the genre that you're writing. They just see that it's a free book. So, you know, they haven't got anything else to read. Let's try that one. And sometimes that works out. Sometimes they go, that's fantastic. I've never read anything like that. Oh, that's a new genre for me. And other times it completely misses the mark because it's not what they like. So, and sometimes that can be helpful. They'll come up with something because, you know, they're coming completely new to the genre. And sometimes it's just like they just haven't got it. So you have to kind of learn what to pay attention to and what to just ignore. I do occasionally get messages through my website, and I actually, in the first, in the series of the Cozy Mystery books, in Murder on the Menu, Jodie inherits a dog, and it's a female dog. And in a couple of scenes, she takes the dog out to relieve itself. And the dog cocks its leg to have a wee because it cocks its leg up something. Now, I had a few mentions in the review that female dogs don't cock their legs when they pee. So I then went on to Facebook, onto one of the writers' groups, and I said, I'm sure, right, this is a really weird thing, but I'm sure my sister's dog, which was a bitch, used to cock her leg when she went to the loo. And loads of them said, yeah, I've got a female dog. She cocks her leg. One of them sent me a video of the dog on its front paws with both legs in the air peeing. And they said, yeah, biologically, they don't actually physically have to do it like that, but they do. Some of them do. And it's like, it's a kind of personal choice thing. So I ignored the feedback that was in the reviews about it because I just thought, well, and I actually Googled, honestly, I know so much about dogs' urinary habits now. It's like far more than I ever wanted to, but I can't forget it now. I'm like haunted by it. And so I thought just a quick Google will show you that actually some female dogs do. It's fine. It's not an error. I had a couple of emails where people actually took the time to find my website, contact me and tell me that I was wrong about female dogs cocking their legs. And it's like, it's always nice to hear from a reader, but like, how bored are you that you had to contact me to tell me that? And I just replied with a link to a thing that I'd found on Google that proved that actually some of them do cock their legs. It's really like a minor thing. It's not a plot point. I just happened to mention that she's peed up something.
Well, that will teach you, apparently.
Yeah,
just don't ever mention dogs peeing.
No, well, now the dog gets let out to relieve itself on its own. No one knows where it pees. We don't care.
Yeah.
You know, whatever. But yeah, so I've had that kind of feedback. I have also had really lovely feedback where people have just said how much they enjoyed it, and that's fantastic. So yeah, that's good. I like that.
And do you have lots of author friends?
I do now, yes, because I mean, when I first signed with my agent, she was with one agency, Kate Nash. So agencies tend to quite often have sort of Facebook groups just for their authors, so you kind of get to know each other. So I got to know a lot of people through that, and then Lena moved agencies and I went with her. So then there's more people. And then just talking to people on Facebook. There are so many writers out there, and it is such a good way of getting to know your readers as well. You obviously end up just getting to know other writers too. Also as well, when I was concentrating on screenwriting as well, I went to the London Screenwriters Festival a couple of times, which was fantastic because obviously hundreds of people there, they're all writers as well. And it's really good because I think if you're a writer, it's quite a lonely existence, or it can be. You know, you're just sat at home in front of your computer, listening to the voices in your head and writing them down. And it's really nice, as supportive as like your family can be and all that sort of thing. And I'm quite lucky in that mine are. They kind of know, oh, she's off again with the fairies, just let her go on with it. Not everyone's got that. So it's really good to sort of find your tribe, find your writers, your people. So yeah, so I actually know quite a lot of writers now, and it does mean when I want to read something that I've got this long list of writer friends who've got books out that I haven't got round to yet. So I just tend to read stuff by people I know now as well. So it's good because it means I've always got something that I want to read, even if it's just because such and such wrote that. I'd like to see what that is. So yeah, no, it's good. I couldn't manage without my writer friends. So.
It's the same being a blogger. I don't remember the last time I went and got a book to read. It's like I've got a list generally. It's like I need to read this and this and this, and then this person's releasing an arc, so I need to read that. I have no choice. Like my list is decided for me in advance.
That's quite nice sometimes, though. I mean, there's so many books out there. Sometimes it is, how do you choose? It is just, which one do you go for next? So it's quite nice.
I flip through my Kindle and like some of the books that I've downloaded, like look at me accusingly as I flick past them to find the blog for book that I need. Yeah. Like, shh, I'll get to you eventually.
Wait your turn.
Yeah, I'll get round to you when I'm at 150. It's fine. I'm coming back as a ghost so I can carry on reading. I need to get to the end of my TBR.
Absolutely. Go and haunt a library or something. That would be pretty cool.
I'd have to. I need to finish all these books. There's so many books.
And there's more coming out. You will never, ever finish all the books.
I know. I suggest to people about having a hiatus for 1 month where all writers just stop, nothing, no releases, so that you can catch up and we can catch up. But apparently that's not feasible.
No,
I think it's perfectly feasible, to be honest, but no, apparently not. I mean, how great would that be? A whole month with no new books coming out. You could go through loads.
I actually think that's a fantastic idea. That's great. It gives us then time to finish what we're writing without, we can push the deadline out a little bit longer. That's good.
Exactly. It's just awesome, but yeah. A few people apparently that just doesn't work. I guess money and stuff.
Oh, you tried.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll keep mentioning it, and you never know. Maybe someone will hear and think, actually, I doubt it, but yeah,
I don't think so. No. I think maybe that's January, where people don't bring so many books out.
Yeah, well, yeah, because everyone's broke.
Except, actually, no, my first one came out the first one for HarperCollins came out in January, so even that's not right. No, ignore me.
It's really funny as well. Last year, when I started doing these interviews, when I'd done them in December, I was rammed busy. And then when I've released, keep asking people this year, no one was asking for December. I was like, okay. But now people have started to ask for December. So I just thought it's really odd. Last December, I was rammed busy doing loads.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? I think there do seem to be a lot of, there's always a lot of Christmas books out, but I don't know. I just seem to have noticed this year there's even more than ever. Including mine. First
I'm
ever
trying to ignore. Although it's November tomorrow, so there is a point where you can't really deny the existence of Christmas any longer. It's happening.
It's happening whether you like it or not. Yeah.
Who was your first celebrity crush?
Oh God. Let me think. It probably would have been a pop star. Who would it have been? Oh, if I mention a pop star now, because I'm older, You probably
It's
won't
all
know who
right.
it is.
It's usually the same few people, which I think is really interesting.
All right. Well, it would have been, I think the first one would have been, and it was like a very kind of innocent sort of crush because I would have been quite young. So it probably would have been Nick Haywood, who was a singer with Haircut 100 was the band many, many moons ago, long time ago. Yeah, so that probably would have been my first one. But he was like very kind of clean cut and non-threatening, I think, which is always good for your first, when you're young, kind of crush. Not the sort that's gonna grab you and throw you up against the wall and ravish you. Not that sort of crush, which is more the sort I have now, obviously.
Oh yeah. Yeah, funny as you get older, your taste change slightly. I believe I've seen him as well. I believe I've seen him at a festival, Nick Haywood.
Oh right, yeah. Oh,
I think so.
He's the sort of boy you could take home to your mum and she would have approved, and she probably could have flirted with him as well. But
Yeah, he has come up before, so.
Oh right, that's good. I'm not the only oldie.
Well, usually it's David Cassidy or Donny Osmond, so you're
like
a generation after, yeah.
I'm not that old. that might have been, my sister might have been more Donny Osmond, I think. But yeah. Oh, we like the Bay City Rollers as well. Oh my god.
They've come up before as well. Yeah.
I don't think I had a crush on any of them though, particularly. But no. So who was yours then?
I honestly have no clue. I say Jason Donovan because that was kind of my era, but honestly, I don't remember. I have absolutely no idea. I've seen him as well, and he was awesome. It was really funny. I went to just like a local festival, and I was on my own, so I was at the front because why not? And the whole front row by the bar was just all women, and he was wearing like white jeans and a white shirt, and I remembered all the words to all the songs, and all the other girls along the front did as well. I was like, how on earth? This was like the late 80s. How do I remember these songs? But it was really cool. It was really good, actually.
I think a lot of the 80s songs now, I mean, there's a local radio station around here that plays kind of all 80s and 90s hits. And if I'm out in the car, something will come on and it will be a song that I haven't heard for like 20 odd years. And I've not even thought about it. And I know all the words. I think that era of music, a lot of them were so catchy that the minute it starts, it is just like, oh, I know this one. And you just remember all the words, definitely. A little bit of aha. Like to dance around the kitchen, do that sort of thing when I'm cooking the dinner. That's always good. So
yeah. Can't beat it. Although that's the era I was born, which is annoying because I missed like so many epic music people.
That's epic. I mean, the 80s is a little bit the decade that time forgot in terms of fashion. It was like you just don't want to. But they're bringing all the fashion back now, which is awful. I was there the first time and it looked terrible. But the music was fantastic. My son is 18 and he actually knows quite a lot of 80s stuff as well. Apparently a lot of his generation quite like the 80s music, so mum's not entirely sad and embarrassing.
You'd have to work on that. You'd have to. That's literally your only job as a parent, is to just embarrass him completely. So
absolutely. So I'm not really doing a good enough job because I play music and he says, oh, I like this one.
Go back to the 50s and 60s, maybe get some Beatles out and some Elvis.
I don't know, I'm not into that either, so that would just be spiting myself, wouldn't it, really?
Yeah, it's a fair point. What's your most embarrassing story?
Oh god, most embarrassing story. And do I want to share it? Let me think. I'm trying to think what it is. Oh, I know what it is. When I took my driving test, I was so nervous, like everyone's nervous. I was so nervous that when the instructor said, well, went to take me to the car, I tried to get into the wrong car because it was the same car that I had at home, but I was there in the driving school car, and the driving school car had a massive driving school sign on the roof and was a different colour and a totally different car. And because I was so nervous, I just headed for one that looked like my car at home. And, and there was a woman there trying to get into it as well. And she was like, "What are you doing? My God." And I went, "Oh, yeah." I was so nervous. And it was like, and I think after that I thought, oh, well, I've failed there, haven't I? And I didn't, I passed first go. So I think I got all my kind of nerves out at that point and just thought, bloody idiot, you've ruined it already, just go do the test now. But that was quite embarrassing. I can't think of anything more embarrassing. If there was anything more embarrassing, I've kind of blocked it out. And it will only come out under hypnosis or after counselling or something. I've just managed to forget it. So.
Yeah, that's the trouble, isn't it? You do tend to try and block these things out quite rightly, I find.
Yeah, I don't want to go over my past embarrassing mistakes.
Yeah, someone asked me that in my group. I'm like, I don't know, I was born, I've got to this age, just take anything in between and you got a story.
There'll be something somewhere. But
yeah, I shared one of my least embarrassing. And someone's like, "Is that your most embarrassing?" God, I've got a worse story. I'm like, "Oh God, yeah, I've got worse stories. I'm just not sharing them."
I'm not stupid. I'm not telling everyone.
I know. I mean, I've got plenty to choose from. So, you're going to have to get through quite a few before you get to the real.
Oh dear. We'll have to come back and have a whole new conversation about that.
Alcohol may have to be involved. I'd actually no, it probably wouldn't. I'm too honest anyway. Oh, I love it. I love doing it, especially like telling guys when I need to pee and stuff, because it makes it really awkward. It's really funny. I'm like, what? Wrong with you? So then I do it more to annoy them. Yeah. If you were to travel to any period in time, either forwards or backwards, where would you go?
Ooh, that's a difficult one as well. I think like I was saying before, it would be really good to go back and meet Agatha Christie. So I think that would be really cool. And that's like a really cool time period as well, isn't it? I mean, like the 1930s or whatever. So cool clothes, fancy cars. I have to say, wherever you travel back, if you travel back in time, actually probably forward in time as well, you would definitely want to travel back to a rich person's experience of that time. You wouldn't want to go back and be poor, definitely, because it's always pretty crap. So yeah, I think probably like the 1930s. Go somewhere, have a bit of a swinging time in London. Maybe get Agatha out on the town, have a little chat with her, find out what she's going to write next, that sort of thing. Yeah, and I, if she was feeling a bit down, I'd say, well, in years to come, people will still be reading your books, and there'll be lots of film and TV adaptations of your work. So, yeah, just keep going. It's fine. You're on the right line. Don't worry about it. That would be cool. I'd like that.
Yeah, in a way, it's a shame, like, because I do quite a lot of these, and her and Enid Blyton are just, everybody talks about them. Everybody, they're just phenomenal to have been around that long, and everybody's still reading their books and still thinks that they're the biggest influence. Is just amazing.
Yeah,
so it's a shame that they'll never know the impact that they still have now.
No, exactly.
Everybody,
I mean, you think they were successful in their own time, but to still be that successful and to still be held up. I mean, I think particularly Agatha Christie, I couldn't tell you a crime writer that doesn't list her as one of their biggest kind of inspirations or influences. So to have that kind of impact that long after your death is amazing. So I mean, that's just incredible.
Yeah. And what do you like to do when you're not writing or working?
Well, when we're not locked down and we're allowed to go out, because at the moment we can't, and we wouldn't want to anyway, because it is still pouring with rain. I like to go for walks along the beach, that sort of thing. We very lucky, we do live near some very nice beaches in Auckland. We've actually got the beach at the end of our road. If I come out of my house and just walk down the road a little bit, I can see the sea right down there. So that's lovely. I really like that. I like going out for meals. I love food, which you could probably tell more if this is a full length shot that I love food. I love cooking, actually. I really enjoy cooking, baking, and that sort of thing. I like watching movies. And reading as well, obviously. I like traveling when the world opens up again. We've got a long list of places that I want to go to. I loved Venice and Barcelona and Paris. I'd love to go back to all of them someday. I've flown through Singapore so many times, flying between the UK and New Zealand. I've never left the airport. So yeah, so when it all opens up and we can travel again, that's one of the things that I'll look forward to getting back to doing. We'll actually get off the plane in Singapore and go and see Singapore. So yeah, traveling, eating, and sitting on the beach. That's probably my main things, really.
Oh yeah, if you're from London, do you know Bedfordshire?
Not really. I'm a
Luton.
South London girl, so
you heard of Luton?
Yeah.
That's where I live, near.
Ah, right, yeah.
So we have no sea anywhere near us at all. It's miles away. So yeah, that's something that sucks.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up in Mitcham, right next to Streatham, which most people have heard of Streatham and Croydon and that. And no sea there either. We had Mitcham Common, which had a few muddy ponds on it, and flashes. So that was the closest you could get to nature where I grew up. But yeah, I mean, we lived in Cornwall for a while. We lived in St Ives for a little while. And that was beautiful. The sea and everything there, the beach is absolutely gorgeous. So, I mean, we're spoilt for beaches here in New Zealand, but equally in England and Wales and Scotland, the beaches there, some of them are absolutely gorgeous. But yes, you can't see them from London. So
or from Bedfordshire.
No.
We're the only, or one of the only, doubly landlocked counties. So we have to travel through 2 counties to get to the sea.
Ah, all right. Yeah, no, I suppose you do. Yeah.
Yeah, it's rubbish.
Oh, it just means when you do go to the beach, you've got to go for like a week, or it's not worth it.
Yeah. Well, we can get to Southend in like just over an hour and a half. So
yeah,
Southend.
Well, got a nice pier. Or a long pier, anyway.
Yeah, but you walk to the end and there's nothing. It's pointless. Right. So you have to pay for the pleasure.
Yeah, and then you turn around and walk back. Well,
Yeah. And so anyway, books.
Books, yes.
Actually, no. Well, I can't think of any more questions for you at the moment, unless you think there's anything that I haven't asked you that you wish to tell us.
Not really. Well, I could tell you that my new book, which is what we're supposed to be talking about, and we just kind of got sidetracked, didn't we? Having too much fun. So my new book is a Christmas cozy murder mystery. It's called, in the UK, it's called A Cornish Christmas Murder. It's got a different title in the US. In the US, it's A Murder Under the Mistletoe. I don't know why, but there you go. The vagaries of publishing. And it follows my main character, Jodie, whose nickname is Nosy, Jodie Parker. She's an ex-copper She's from Cornwall, but she moved to London, and she lived in London and was in the Met for 20 years. After she got divorced, she takes her teenage daughter back to Cornwall, where she grew up, supposedly for a quiet life, because she's quit the police force and she's set up her own catering company. Having a catering company means that she has the opportunity to travel around a little bit and to meet up with all sorts of different people. And when trouble occurs, which it always seems to, she has real trouble keeping her nose out of it. And this time is no exception. She gets asked to cater a big Christmas party in ancient abbey on Bodmin Moor. A big snowstorm strands everyone there overnight. And of course, the next day, a body is found. The police can't get through. It's down to Jodie to investigate, hold the fort until the police can get to them. So that's what that's all about. That's out. It's actually supposed to be out tomorrow, that's 1st November, but it's now actually going to be out on the 29th of November, the new book, and then it's out a couple of weeks later in paperback form. And it's fun. I think it's great fun. There's a little bit of romance in there, lots of laughs, and a twisty crime in it. So buy it now.
Well, pre-order. I'll put the link when I post. I'll put the link to it.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. So just before we go, would you like to just tell everyone where they can find out more about you if they wish, and where they can get your books from?
Yes, well, my books are available at all good bookstores. I think not sure if the paperbacks are actually in stores, but you can buy them through Amazon, WH Smith, Waterstones, all of those on their website, or in the US, Barnes and Noble, those all the usual suspects, all the usual places. You can find out more about me on my website, which is just FionaLeitch.com, really nice and easy. I'm on Twitter at FKLeitch. You can find me on there. I'm on Facebook, again, just Fiona Leitch. And Instagram. Everyone's on Instagram. I'm not on TikTok. I'm resisting TikTok, but I'm on Instagram as well, which I think is at Leitch Fiona. And yes, I post a lot of nonsense that's not always book related. Quite often food or cat related, or beach related, actually. Lots of pictures of beaches and things like that. So yeah, so that's about me.
I might have to check. I'm following you on Insta, actually. I don't think I am. I think I'd notice.
Yeah. You'd have seen lots of cake, because I do like to make a good cake, and lots of cat pictures as well, because I have 2 mad cats. So yeah.
Well, awesome. Thank you very much. And it's been fun.
Yes, it has. Great fun. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.